The embattled founder of the defunct FTX crypto exchange will be arraigned today. Sam Bankman-Fried facing fraud charges after the exchange went belly up, leaving investors empty-handed. And according to people who know him, SBF is likely to enter a plea of not guilty to those charges. Joining us now to discuss, Mitchell Epner, member of the firm Rottenberg, Lippman Rich, a former federal prosecutor as well. Mitchell, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
And according to people familiar with Sam Bankman-Fried, he is likely to enter that not guilty plea today. That is despite his two closest confidants choosing to plead guilty. Both are cooperating with federal investigators. So why do you think that SBF is holding out right now?
Well, it's standard operating procedure for a defendant who has not reached a plea deal to plead not guilty at their arraignment. There's literally nothing to be read into that.
Okay, I really appreciate that context. Do you think it is likely then that we will see him change his tune and eventually plead guilty?
It depends on one very important thing, which is what sort of deal could he get? Right now, he is facing charges that at maximum would keep him in prison for 110 years. Ordinarily, the statutory maximum is something that's put out there but not really in play. Here, because more than $550 million has gone missing, he would be at the top of the sentencing guidelines range, which means he is facing a potential life sentence. Now, the charges against him don't literally carry a life sentence, but he could get the same sort of sentence that Bernie Madoff got, who was sentenced to 150 years. It really wouldn't matter if the prosecutors were to offer him a deal where he was looking at 60 or 70 years. While that's, a big percent off 110 years, it's meaningfully a life sentence. If he's going to serve life, if he pleads guilty, he's going to go to trial.
And we know a new judge has also taken up his case in federal court. Judge Lewis A. Kaplan reports suggesting that he is not going to go easy on Bankman-Fried. What effect do you think a new judge will have on this case?
So I've been before Judge Kaplan numerous times, and he does not suffer fools gladly. He is a deeply sophisticated thinker about financial matters. He will not at all be confused by any of the terminology here. I think he will do his best to move this case along quickly. And if this case goes to sentencing without a plea agreement, I would not want to be in SBF's shoes if he were to just basically have Judge Kaplan with unfettered discretion to sentence as he sees fit.
I appreciate that insight. Do you think that bail reform is needed here? Because critics say that SBF was able to essentially avoid jail time thanks to his family's extensive wealth. Those with fewer resources would likely have to spend time in jail. Do you agree with that assessment?
The people who are saying that simply don't understand how the federal bail system works. Federal bail and state bail are completely different. On the state side, people have to hire a bail bondsman. They have to put up 10% of the bail that is being required, and they never get that money back. SBF's number that they've said, $250 million bail, is just, it's a smokescreen. It's not real, because all that means is if he were to disappear, that he and the people who have guaranteed for him would owe up to $250 million, and his parents would lose their home. But nobody had to put a cent up to get a bail bond for him.
I really appreciate that. And my last question for you is in two parts. First of all, how strong do you believe the case is against SBF at this point? And secondly, what does the future likely look like for him?
Okay, so starting with how strong is the case, when the new CEO of the company says that the company under SBF was embezzlement, pure and simple, and his two closest confidants have both pled guilty and agreed to cooperate against him, that is the worst possible situation I could imagine for SBF. I think he is looking at an extremely high likelihood of eventually being convicted. If he is convicted, and he does not have a plea deal that guarantees him something less than, decade after decade in jail, I think he's either never going to get out of jail once he's convicted, or get out of jail only as a very old man.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.